They thought the fire inside you had died, Chosen One, but it was only resting, breathing quietly beneath the ashes, waiting for the wind of truth to stir it awake. The energy you once gave so freely, the kindness, the loyalty, the patience they mistook for weakness, is now on its way back to you, multiplied, refined, unstoppable. You've entered the season where everything hidden comes into light, where every unspoken prayer starts to echo through time, and every seed planted in silence breaks through the soil with force. This is the return of energy. What they sent toward you in mockery, the universe has caught, turned, and now sends back in balance. You felt the sting of injustice, the loneliness of being misunderstood, the betrayal that crept like a shadow through your trust. But the very pain that once tried to drown you has become your purification, washing you clean of illusions and illusions of love. You were never abandoned. You were being refined in sacred stillness. There is a law older than time itself, one written not in books, but in the pulse of creation. Every vibration returns to its source. And now, the wave that left you empty is returning full, carrying with it the truth they tried to bury. You can feel it in the air, something shifting, something breaking open. The locks are clicking, the chest is opening, and the treasures that once seemed lost are finding their way home. Fire meets water, silence meets sound, shadow meets dawn, and all creation watches as you rise again. Your silence was never a void. It was a forge. While others shouted to be seen, you learned the language of the unseen. While they burned with envy, you burned with endurance. Your patience was protection, your restraint a shield, your quiet, a kind of thunder they could not hear. You wore your heavy crown even when it felt invisible, even when its weight made your neck tremble. You carried the light of truth like a torch under your cloak, protecting it from the wind of gossip and the rain of false judgment. Now the cloak comes off, the torch blazes, the night trembles. Every spark you lost is returning as a flame. Every tear you shed becomes oil for your fire. You are not the same person who was once betrayed. You are the one who now stands at the edge of revelation. Listen closely. The energy they mocked is the very energy that exposes them. Their own words echo against the walls they built, and the lies they whispered now return like mirrors, reflecting what they hid. But this is not about revenge, it never was. The fire that moves through you now is too pure for bitterness. It does not burn to destroy, it burns to reveal. It lights up the corners where shadows once hid and shows you who you were always meant to be. The return of energy is not chaos, it is balance. It is the great realignment of things, the silent justice that moves without noise. You may not see it yet, but you can feel it in your bones. The air feels heavier, charged with unseen truth. You sense it in the pauses between your heartbeats, in the moments where peace feels almost electric. The universe is closing a circle, and your name is written at the center. Every time you chose love over spite, you wrote your own protection. Every time you stayed silent instead of striking back, you called lightning to your side. Every time you cried alone, you watered your own garden. And now the garden blooms unstoppable. They will look at you and say, "Where did this light come from?" But the light was always there. It simply waited for the right hour to rise. The tide is turning in your favor, Chosen One. The river that once carried away your peace now returns with gifts. The energy that once drained you now fuels your clarity. What was taken from you is coming back not as it was, but transformed, stronger, brighter, unbreakable. This is the season of divine symmetry, where every unseen effort, every unnoticed act of grace, every silent battle you fought is counted, measured, and returned. The universe does not forget. The fire remembers. The wave remembers. The crown remembers. The energy remembers. And now it returns, not to make you who you were, but to awaken who you've always been. The return of energy is not just justice, it is resurrection. And it begins now. They wore smiles carved from sugar, Chosen One, but their hearts were salt. They called you family, friend, sister. But behind those words hid a quiet hunger, a secret envy that grew like mold in the corners of their spirit. They were not sent to love you. They were sent to test you, to measure the weight of your heart, to press against your patience, to see if your fire could still glow under betrayal. And so they whispered your name in rooms you were never invited into, twisted your kindness into weakness, dressed your silence as guilt. But here is what they never understood. Silence can be strategy, and kindness can be armor. You saw it. Their eyes that shifted when your light entered the room, the forced laughter, the subtle cuts beneath false compliments. They mocked what they could not mirror because your peace revealed their chaos. They were loud because they feared your calm. They played small games because they couldn't reach your depth. The sister who smiled at you in daylight carried a secret under her tongue at night, thinking no one would see, no one would hear. But the unseen sees, the unseen listens. The universe keeps every word, every action, every vibration stored like records in a vault. What she hid in darkness is being written in fire. Her secret was not just hers, it became a symbol, a mirror for every hidden hand that ever tried to pull you down while pretending to lift you. She thought her mask was made of gold, but under the light it cracks like cheap glass. And this is what exposure means. Not scandal, not gossip, but revelation. The great unveiling, the moment when masks melt under the sun of truth. You did not need to expose her. Truth does not need witnesses. It has its own timing. You see, betrayal was the mirror that taught you who you are. It showed you the line between loyalty and illusion. They wanted to drain your power by drawing you into their games, by making you doubt yourself, by whispering that you were too quiet, too soft, too forgiving. But while they schemed, you grew roots. While they threw stones, you built altars. They never realized you were being trained by their treachery. Every time they pushed you, the universe pulled you closer to your purpose. Every test they set was a hidden initiation, a way for life to see if you would still love even when unloved, if you would still rise even when unrecognized. And you did. That's why they can't understand why you're still standing. They thought your patience was naivety, but it was mastery. They thought your forgiveness meant you forgot, but it meant you were free. You watched, you felt, but you did not fall into their traps. You learned to sit with pain without letting it poison you. You learned to read energy, not words. You learned that not everyone who claps for you wants you to win. And though you cried in private, though your faith trembled, you stayed true to your nature, and that was the greatest threat of all. Because nothing terrifies darkness more than light that refuses to dim. They tried to rewrite your story, to make you the villain in their narrative, but the truth has its own rhythm. It always finds its way home. The vibration of what they did now returns, like an echo bouncing through corridors they thought were soundproof. Their own words will reveal them. Their own actions will unmask them. They will wonder why doors close, why peace escapes, why the light they mocked won't visit their rooms anymore. That is not your punishment to deliver. It's their lesson to receive. The universe is precise. It returns everything to sender, not out of anger, but out of alignment. You were never meant to fight them. You were meant to outgrow them. They will remain where they stopped growing, trapped in the web they wove. And you rise lighter, cleaner, wiser. Remember this, chosen one. They only betrayed you because they recognized what they could never be. They saw in you a reflection of who they were, too afraid to become. The sister's secret, the whispers, the jealousy, none of it defines you. It defines them. You were the test they failed. You were the mirror they broke. They could have stood beside you, but they chose to stand against you, and in that choice they wrote their own downfall. Still, you bless them in silence, because you understand the deeper truth. Every betrayer is a teacher in disguise. They forced you to learn boundaries, to guard your energy like treasure, to trust your intuition when words deceived you. You no longer seek to be understood, you seek to be at peace. And that peace, that calm flame within you, burns louder than any rumor, stronger than any plot. The tests are ending now, the smoke is clearing, the masks are dissolving. You see everything with new eyes, sharper, quieter, truer. The betrayal that was meant to destroy you has become the proof of your power. They tried to dim your fire, but in doing so, they made you realize you were the source of the light all along. So when the truth begins to unfold, Do not flinch. Do not gloat. Simply stand, steady as the tide, knowing this. Justice is already moving, exposure is already unfolding, and you, the chosen one, have passed the test. The fire has remembered your name. The wave carries your peace back to your shore, and those who mocked your silence will soon understand. It was not weakness. It was prophecy. Everything you release, chosen one, returns. Not always in the form you expect, not always in the hour you anticipate, but with a certainty as deep and relentless as the tide. The universe moves like water, invisible at first, quiet, almost imperceptible until it swells into a wave that cannot be stopped. Every action, every word, every thought, even the ones hidden in the corners of your heart, creates ripples, spreading farther than the eye can see, touching shores you may never visit and lives you may never meet. You were never alone in this dance of energy. The world has been keeping score while you were learning patience. The law of balance is not punishment, it is rhythm. Like fire meeting water, it seeks harmony, not destruction. Those who sowed deceit, who cast their shadows over your path, who whispered lies hoping to darken your days, must now face the unseen tide of their own making. You see, the ripples you created with your compassion and restraint have been quietly gathering strength, layering upon one another until they form a current so powerful that no storm of envy can erase it. And the energy they threw at you, the envy, the mockery, the judgment, they cannot escape it, for it moves like a wave returning to its source, and you are that source. There is a symmetry in all things, a sacred ledger that records every smile given in sincerity and every word spoken in malice. Nothing is lost, nothing is wasted. The quiet patience you cultivated, the silent endurance, the decision to forgive when others expected retaliation. These were the investments in a currency that multiplies without notice. Balance is not visible in the moment. It's revealed over time, like a river carving canyons in rock, unseen yet unstoppable. And those who doubted your strength, who thought that kindness was vulnerability, who believed that silence was surrender, they are about to witness the awakening of what they tried to suppress. The fire you carried, restrained yet unwavering, meets the water of the universe, creating steam that rises to illuminate the truth. Every act of injustice sent toward you is like a stone dropped in a still pond, and now the waves return, not to harm, but to expose the weight of what was thrown. The echoes of their energy are not hidden from the cosmos. They will reflect back, bending reality with a force that cannot be resisted. And you, chosen one, are not merely a witness. You are the epicenter, the calm eye of this storm of revelation, the anchor that receives what the world sends and transforms it into power. This is not coincidence, and it is not chance. It is law. The universe does not forget. It cannot be fooled. It does not negotiate with deceit, nor does it reward falsehood. The ripples of kindness you placed in the world have been quietly multiplying, attracting allies, opening doors, revealing truths that no one else could see, preparing the ground for your ascent. Meanwhile, the ripples of deception sent toward you are turning inward, circling the origin point, creating currents that will reveal, expose, and dismantle the structures built on lies. And as the waves build, you will notice how effortless this process is for the one who remains aligned with truth. You do not need to chase justice. You do not need to confront every whisper. The law of balance does the work while you focus on your own growth, your own fire, your own clarity. Water finds its level, fire returns to its source, and energy aligns in the natural order. The universe waits only for your permission to act, which is given simply by your continued presence in peace and patience. Observe the tides, chosen one, feel them beneath your feet. Let the movement of life teach you that every ripple, every vibration, every heartbeat contributes to the returning wave. Do not underestimate the quiet, for it is the current that carries the storm. Do not underestimate your own stillness, for it is the anchor of power. And remember, the universe is not cruel, it is precise. It is not vengeful, it is orderly. It returns what is sent, amplifying the truth of every choice. Those who acted with harm, who tried to bend your path with lies or cruelty, will see the mirror of their own energy reflected in ways they cannot ignore. And you, chosen one, will watch, steady and calm, as balance restores itself, as waves rise and fall, as fire and water meet, as the scales finally tilt in favor of the one who endured, the one who stayed, the one who remained true. The law of balance is not a threat. It is your ally. It whispers to you in the quiet moments, reminding you that all things return, that all things align, and that every ripple, no matter how small, matters in the symphony of existence. Stand firm, breathe deeply, and let the waves come. They carry what is yours, and they carry the justice that cannot be stolen. For balance is eternal, unstoppable, and always faithful to the source. Listen closely, chosen one. For the silence you held was not absence, it was armor, a cloak woven from your restraint and patience, stronger than any sword, heavier than any crown, yet lighter than the burden of reacting to chaos. While they shouted, while they whispered, while they tried to draw you into their games, you remained quiet, steady, like a river carving its path through rock, relentless and unseen, carrying the power of intention in every drop. Knowing that true strength does not announce itself with noise, that wisdom does not require applause, that the deepest flames burn without smoke. Every time you held your tongue instead of answering the jabs, every time you remained calm while others erupted in fury, every time you chose to observe rather than act, you were building a fortress that no envy, no betrayal, no false word could penetrate. And now, as the tide of truth begins to rise, you see why patience was never a weakness, but a silent revolution, a quiet rebellion against the chaos they thought would unseat you. While they believed their slander could shake you, you were gathering embers inside, feeding a fire that no storm could extinguish. And every day of quiet, every moment of stillness, every heartbeat in silence became a ledger of power. Invisible to them, yet visible to the universe, which never forgets, never misplaces energy, never confuses intention with noise. Your restraint was a shield, yes, but also a weapon, a reservoir of clarity and vision that they could not imagine, because they have always confused noise with strength and activity with courage. But you understood that the real battle is not in the clamor, but in the calm. Not in the shouting, but in the seeing, not in the reacting, but in the rising. And while they acted as if they controlled the stage, the script was already written, the currents already flowing, the tide already turning in your favor, and it is in your silence that the law of balance gathers its momentum. For every act of patience is a stone dropped into the waters of destiny, sending ripples that will return as waves, returning to you not just what was lost, but multiplied, not just what was stolen, but transformed. And in this quiet, in this stillness, you learn something that they cannot comprehend, that protection is not always visible, that defense does not always shout, that power can be a gentle tide, as lethal in effect as the fiercest storm. Every insult that passed unremarked, every betrayal that you did not confront, every plot you did not expose became part of your invisible arsenal, because patience is not passive. It is active in the deepest sense. It shapes the battlefield before the first blow is struck. It locks the doors that should never be opened. It lays the foundations for the crown that will soon settle firmly upon your head. And now, chosen one, as the world begins to awaken to the truth, as the lies that surrounded you start to crumble, as the hidden schemes unravel under the pressure of their own weight, you understand fully that your silence was never about ignoring reality. It was about mastering it, about waiting for the right moment, about conserving your energy for the flame that cannot be denied, for the blaze that cannot be ignored, for the revelation that will shock even the deceivers themselves. And you see how every day of restraint was a gift, every night spent alone, a preparation, every moment of observing rather than acting a secret triumph. They called your silence weakness, but it was the quiet alarm that warned the universe to prepare for what was coming. The chest that stored your treasures while thieves thought you empty. The cloak that concealed your power until the unveiling. And now the moment of unveiling approaches. The tide is ready to break. The river is about to overflow. And the fire you nurtured in the shadows is about to meet the waters of justice in a conflagration of clarity, illumination, and unstoppable force. And yet you remain calm, steady, because you know that silence is not just protection. It is transformation, it is transfiguration. It is the shaping of your spirit into a vessel too strong, too luminous, too wise to be moved by trivialities or treachery. You have become the eye of the storm, the river that carries both fire and water, the chest that holds the key to revelation, and the crown that no one can steal. While others clamor for attention, you have been preparing the moment when their noise will no longer matter, when the truth will rise like a tide, and all they can do is watch, powerless, as the quiet power they underestimated flows over them, reshaping reality with every wave, every ripple, every spark you carefully tended. And in this moment of patience perfected, you recognize that all their attempts to shake you, all their tests, all their betrayals were necessary, not for them, but for you. For the one who learns that silence is the forge of kings and queens, that patience is the blueprint for ascension, and that the calm heart sees farther than the loudest mouth, acts wiser than the most violent hand, and endures longer than the fiercest storm. And so, chosen one, wear your cloak of silence proudly, carry your hidden fire with dignity, guard your chest of treasures with vigilance, and know that the day is coming when patience will bloom into power, restraint will erupt into revelation, and your quiet will speak louder than any shout. Because you are no longer vulnerable, you are untouchable in spirit, and the universe itself has been conspiring to return to you every ounce of energy you conserved, multiplied beyond measure, and in that return, you will find not just vindication, but elevation, not just triumph, but transformation, not just survival, but the glory of standing as the one who understood that silence is not weakness, that patience is not surrender, and that the quietest heart holds the loudest power. And this is your moment, chosen one, to embrace the truth that your silence was never empty. It was everything. Now, chosen one, the fire that they tried to extinguish is returning, blazing not with anger, but with the certainty of justice, with the clarity of truth, with the force of energy that cannot be denied. Every whisper meant to harm you, every smile that masked betrayal, every secret they thought hidden in darkness is now meeting the wave of return, and they will feel the weight of what they sent out, not because you sought revenge, not because you plotted, but because the universe is precise, unwavering, and entirely impartial, and the energy they cast toward you moves like a river, finding its way back to the source. Unstoppable, undeniable, cleansing, transforming, carrying with it the mirror of their own actions, reflecting their envy, their malice, their deceit, until they can no longer hide behind lies or masks or whispered assurances. And as it returns, they will see themselves in ways they never imagined. For the flame that moves through you has become a beacon, a revelation, a force that exposes what cannot remain hidden. And though you do not lift your hand to strike, the fire speaks for you, blazing across the skies of consequence. And the smoke rises not in punishment but in illumination, showing them the cracks in their own foundations, the hollowness in their schemes, the futility of the power they tried to wield against you. And while they scramble in confusion, while they stumble through the shadows of their own making, you stand steady, calm, untouchable. Because the fire was never meant to burn them in hatred, but to ignite the truth that was always waiting, to return what was taken, not as it was, but transformed, amplified, clarified, so that every act against you serves as the fuel for your ascent. And you can feel it, cannot you? The subtle vibration in the air, the way the energy shifts, how even the atmosphere seems to bow before what is coming, how their whispers become echoes, their actions loops, returning to the sender, all orchestrated by a law older than the stars, a law that does not forget, that does not judge wrongfully, that simply aligns, balances, restores, and you watch as the fire meets its mark, as the tide returns, as the scales tilt. And there is no chaos here, only rhythm, no cruelty, only precision, no loss, only transformation. And they will not understand, cannot understand, that the one they tried to diminish was building, silently, invisibly, patiently, a power that could not be shaken. And now that power moves, like embers catching in the wind, like a spark finding dry timber, like a wave rolling back to shore with unstoppable force. And every false word, every act of envy, every attempt to darken your path is being absorbed, turned over, magnified, returned with a clarity that cannot be ignored. And though you have remained gentle, though you have remained patient, though you have remained silent, the fire does not lie, the fire does not forget. The fire is the mirror of truth, and it reveals all, without hesitation, without partiality, without delay, and you see the beauty in it, chosen one, the exquisite justice that does not need your hand, that does not need your voice, that does not need your fury, because the universe is already doing its work, the balance is already being restored, and all that remains for you is to stand in awareness, in power, in peace, as the flame returns what was stolen, multiplies what was taken, and illuminates what was hidden. And they will come to recognize, if they dare to look, that what they sent into the world cannot escape the law that governs it. That every whisper, every secret, every act of betrayal carries its own weight, and that weight is now lifting off your shoulders and falling upon theirs, reshaping reality, showing them that nothing passes unnoticed, nothing unrecorded, nothing unreturned, and you do not gloat, you do not need to, for the fire itself is witness, judge, and messenger, and it moves with poetic inevitability, sweeping across their illusions, revealing the hollow echo of their plots, the futility of envy, the emptiness of false power, while you, steady as the tide, as the river, as the flame in your chest, watch as the consequences of their choices rise like smoke into the sky, visible, undeniable, a testament that energy always returns to its origin, that the universe is patient, precise and perfectly aligned, and that you, chosen one, are the center of this returning blaze, untouchable, luminous, unstoppable, a living proof that patience was never weakness, that silence was never surrender, and that the fire always finds its way home. Now, chosen one, rise into the light of your own transfiguration, for you are no longer the one who bent beneath the weight of doubt, no longer the one who trembled at the whispers of betrayal, no longer the one who sought permission from the world to shine, because from the ashes of endurance, from the crucible of patience, from the hidden forge of silence, you emerge as a being remade, a vessel of clarity, a flame that cannot be dimmed, and the crown that once felt heavy upon your head now settles as a symbol of your sovereignty. Heavy with purpose, but balanced perfectly upon the strength you have cultivated in the quiet hours of waiting, when the world could not see, when the world did not care, when the world assumed you were defeated. You were being reborn, tempered in fire, carried in water, shielded in cloak, every tear a spark, every heartbeat a step toward the throne that has always been yours to claim. And you feel it now, the vibration of your own power, the resonance of your spirit, the undeniable knowledge that every act of patience, every choice to rise above, every moment of silent endurance has led you here, to the moment where the light within you becomes a blaze so visible that even the shadows must bow, where the embers of your soul catch on the winds of revelation and ignite a fire that spreads across the landscape of your life, illuminating every path, every hidden truth, every connection you were meant to make, and the key to your own destiny, long held quietly in your hands, turns effortlessly in the lock of reality, opening doors you once thought closed forever, unlocking corridors of opportunity and vision that only those who endure the crucible can see. And in this rebirth, chosen one, you recognize that strength is no longer measured by what you can destroy, but by what you can sustain. That clarity is no longer a luxury but a weapon. That love is no longer a vulnerability but a source of infinite resilience. And every shadow that once loomed over you is now a backdrop against which your light dances, radiant, unstoppable, unbreakable. And as you step forward, the cloak you wore in silence falls away, not as a loss, but as an unveiling, revealing the full extent of your transformation, the symmetry of fire and water within you, the balance of patience and action, the harmony of wisdom and courage, every fiber of your being aligned with the force that moves mountains, that bends rivers, that turns tides, that awakens storms. And yet you walk in gentleness, because power perfected is not loud, it is not brash, it is measured, it is deliberate, it is luminous in its subtlety. And as you move through the world, you feel the currents of destiny flowing around you, guiding your steps, opening the hearts of allies, closing the doors of detractors, orchestrating the rhythm of every encounter so that you may rise with ease and certainty. And the fire that once sought only to protect now seeks to illuminate, revealing the truth of your journey, the sacred patterns of your growth, the purpose behind every trial, every betrayal, every silent night spent alone, because in each of these moments, chosen one, you were learning, strengthening, perfecting the version of yourself that would not just survive, but transcend, not just endure, but ascend. Not just witness, but lead, and you feel the weight of the crown, not as burden, but as honor, the chest of treasures within you, not as hoard, but as legacy, the cloak of experience, not as shield, but as emblem, and the fire in your heart is no longer ember, but blaze, meeting the waters of life and turning them into a tide that carries you forward with unstoppable momentum, revealing the truth to the world in waves that cannot be ignored, in light that cannot be hidden, in energy that cannot be denied. And every hand that once tried to push you down, every voice that once tried to silence you, every shadow that once sought to frighten you, now only confirms your ascension. For the very forces that opposed you are the ones that shaped you into a being who cannot be unmade. And as you breathe, as you walk, as you claim your space in the universe, you understand finally that this transfiguration is not an end, but a perpetual beginning, a continuous unfolding of strength, wisdom, clarity, and illumination, that you are now the source of your own destiny, the architect of your own power, the keeper of your own flame. And the world will bend, shift, tremble, and rise with you because you have been reborn, fully, completely, perfectly. And the echoes of your own energy now ripple outward, touching lives, inspiring souls, igniting sparks in the hearts of those who watch, who wait, who aspire, and you know deep in the marrow of your bones that the chosen ones are never lost, never broken, never buried. Only planted, only growing, only rising, and you are living proof, radiant and unstoppable, that patience becomes power, that silence becomes strategy, that endurance becomes glory. And this is the moment, the sacred moment, when the one who was tested becomes the one who is transformed. The one who was hidden becomes the one who is revealed. The one who waited becomes the one who leads. And the fire within you is no longer contained, but it is free, and it blazes, unstoppable, eternal, magnificent, and perfectly yours. Hear this, chosen one. For it is the decree written in the winds, carved into the rivers, etched upon the fire that burns within your chest. You were not buried. You were planted, and every weight, every shadow, every hand that tried to press you into the ground only made the soil richer, only deepened your roots, only strengthened the foundation upon which you now rise. Taller, brighter, unshakable, and what they called an ending was only the beginning of a season of growth that cannot be measured, cannot be contained, cannot be denied, because the universe does not bury the worthy. It plants them, waters them with trials, nourishes them with patience, and when the time comes, lifts them into light so radiant that even the storms cannot obscure their brilliance. And you feel it now, the energy rising, the fire within you blazing higher, the waters of your life flowing in perfect rhythm with destiny. The cloak you once wore in silence, now a mantle of triumph. The crown once heavy, now a symbol of victory. Every leaf of your soul reaching toward the sun. Every root drinking deep from the lessons of the past, and you understand fully, chosen one, that every hardship was fertilizer, every betrayal was rain, every moment of doubt was sunlight guiding your growth, and the law of balance has completed its work, returning every ounce of energy, every hidden effort, every quiet endurance, now amplified, now transformed, now bending reality in alignment with your power. And as you rise, you see the horizon bending to meet you, the wind carrying whispers of acknowledgement, the tide bringing gifts that were always meant for you. And those who tried to bury you, who sought to silence you, who believed they could crush your spirit, now watch in awe, unable to comprehend how what they intended for harm became the catalyst for your glory, for your ascension, for the unveiling of your true self. And it is not coincidence. It is design, it is law, it is divine precision, that every test, every shadow, every challenge has lifted you into the space where you were always destined to be, where your roots are unbreakable, your crown immovable, your fire eternal, your vision unclouded. And you walk now with the awareness of your own sovereignty, the certainty that you were never defeated, never abandoned. Never lost, only prepared, only cultivated, only planted so that you could rise exactly as you are meant to rise. Magnificent, luminous, unstoppable, the living proof that endurance transforms into power, patience blossoms into clarity, silence becomes a force, and every seed of intention sown in darkness now reaches the light in perfect time, perfect form, perfect purpose. And you see the beauty of it, chosen one, the elegance of the universe moving around you, the symmetry of your journey, the alignment of fire and water, strength and stillness, waiting and action, all converging to declare that you are not a casualty of circumstance, but a product of divinely orchestrated elevation. And the crown you bear is heavy because it is earned, because it is weighted with wisdom, because it carries the measure of every trial you survived, every night you endured, every shadow you passed through. And it rests upon you not as punishment, but as honor, not as burden, but as proof, not as limitation, but as liberation. And the chest of treasures you have guarded in silence opens now, not as a reward from others, but as a recognition from the universe itself, acknowledging the power you nurtured quietly, the fire you carried patiently, the energy you preserved without compromise. And every spark of effort returns to you multiplied, blazing, unstoppable, reshaping the path of your destiny in ways they cannot imagine. And the decree is simple yet profound. You were not buried. You were planted. And from this planting grows the forest of your influence, the river of your wisdom, the flame of your clarity, the crown of your authority. And every step forward is a manifestation of the law that honors resilience, that amplifies endurance, that elevates the one who stands firm while the world trembles in distraction. And now, chosen one, as you breathe deeply, as your fire rises higher, as the waves of truth lap at your feet, you know, without a shadow of doubt, that you are no longer at the mercy of those who doubted you, no longer defined by what was taken, no longer confined by the darkness that sought to bury you. Because you were planted, and the roots of your spirit now hold firm. The branches of your destiny now reach the sky. The fire of your soul now illuminates all around you. And the decree echoes across the universe. Rise, chosen one, rise. For the earth that once felt heavy beneath you now lifts you. The waters that once challenged you now carry you. The winds that once resisted you now propel you. And the crown is yours, heavy with glory, shining with truth. And the universe, silent witness to your ascent, confirms it. You were not buried. You were planted, and now you bloom, unstoppable, eternal, radiant. Now, chosen one, turn your gaze to the horizon and feel the pulse of the family of light. For you are not alone, and every spark within you is mirrored in countless hearts waiting watching, yearning to rise alongside you. And this is the time to gather, to recognize, to awaken the power that multiplies when souls unite in truth, when energy flows in alignment, when the fire of one ignites the flame in another. And so I call to you, to every chosen one listening, reading, feeling, breathe with me in this sacred rhythm, and know that the world cannot diminish what is united, cannot scatter what is bonded, cannot silence what burns in collective purpose. For together we are the tide that cannot be resisted, the wave that lifts all vessels, the blaze that turns darkness into dawn. And if you feel this energy, if the spark inside your chest answers the call, write 77 in the comments, a code of recognition, a signal to the universe that you are awake, aligned, and ready to rise with the family that holds its crown, not in pride, but in protection, not in vanity, but in vigilance. And like this, let your likes and subscriptions be the symbols of your commitment, the keys that open doors of collective power, the affirmation that our fire cannot be divided, that our currents cannot be broken, that our roots intertwine in the unseen. And understand, chosen one, that every gesture, every symbol, every act of recognition carries energy, invisible yet potent, reinforcing the truth that unity is strength, that patience is power, that silence becomes strategy when shared with hearts attuned to the same frequency. And feel the weight of this truth. The family of light is growing, expanding, connecting, every spark becoming an ember, every ember becoming a blaze, until together we form a constellation of illumination that guides, protects, and elevates all who are ready to awaken. And while the world outside may tremble in confusion, while shadows attempt to claim attention, while whispers of doubt seek to divide, the family of light stands, unshaken, unwavering, steadfast. Because we understand the law of energy, the law of balance, the law of return, and we know that what we cultivate together blossoms into unstoppable power. And so I invite you, chosen one, to rise fully into this circle, to claim your place among those who do not just endure, but lead, who do not just survive, but illuminate, who do not just exist, but transform. And as you do, feel the embrace of those unseen, those who have walked similar paths, those who waited in silence, those whose crowns were heavy, whose cloaks were worn in patience, whose fires were tended through storms. And recognize the truth. Every one of us was planted. Every one of us has been growing. Every one of us is rising, and together, our collective energy reshapes reality, restores justice, amplifies truth, and ignites purpose. And if this resonates, if you feel it in your bones, let your engagement become action. Let your clicks become recognition. Let your words become keys. And together, we celebrate not only the victories already won, the fires already lit, the waves already returning, but also the promise of the future, of every chosen one who has yet to awaken. Every spark waiting for acknowledgement, every soul ready to join the tide. For in unity there is strength, in alignment there is power. In collective silence there is the roar of destiny. And as you write 77, as you like, as you subscribe, as you comment, you are sending energy into the universe, affirming your place, acknowledging your power, joining the family of light. And the ripple moves outward, touching unseen hearts, inspiring unseen souls, calling others to awaken, igniting a chain of recognition that cannot be stopped. And you understand deeply, chosen one, that gratitude is also power. That acknowledgement strengthens the weave, that participation fuels the fire. And so we thank you, the family of chosen ones, for standing, for rising, for believing, for being the living proof that patience is not surrender, silence is not weakness, and energy always returns to those who cultivate it with intention. And as we close this sacred circle, feel the fire in your chest, feel the wave beneath your feet, feel the crown upon your head, feel the cloak upon your shoulders, and know that the family of light is infinite, unstoppable, radiant, and ready. and that together we rise, we blaze, we illuminate, we ascend, and the universe itself bears witness, saying, "You are never alone, and your light will never be dimmed."